Hi, everyone. Welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be looking at this book, Dad's Wisdom, A Blueprint for Life.
Okay.
Um, and what's so interesting about this book is it's written by a father for his young daughter.
Interesting.
And he wrote it while he was battling stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, it's very poignant.
I can imagine.
And, I think everybody listening who's a parent has probably thought, what would I want to tell my kids if I knew I was dying?
Yeah, it's one of the thoughts that I had when I first heard about this book and started reading it.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff.
It is.
But it's also very uplifting at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's not like doom and gloom.
Yeah.
He's really trying to give his daughter like a blueprint for life, the tools that she's going to need to go out there and be successful and happy and live a good life.
Yeah. And I think that really comes through in the way that he talks about resilience. Yeah. It's like he's trying to equip her with this armor to face whatever life throws her way.
Yeah, and he doesn't just talk about it in the abstract. He uses examples.
Absolutely.
From his own life, like his experience as an expatriate.
Yeah.
And, obviously his battle with cancer.
Yeah, I found that part particularly striking.
Yeah.
The way he talks about his cancer diagnosis is very matter of fact. But at the same time, you can feel the love and the concern for his daughter. And he even uses it as an opportunity to teach her about life and death in this way.
Right.
That's both honest and age appropriate.
Yeah, there's this one anecdote that really stood out to me.
Okay.
Where he asks his daughter, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would be the point of brushing your teeth?
Oh, wow.
And it's such a simple question, but it really gets you thinking.
It does.
Right? Like, what's the point of anything if we're all just going to die anyway?
It's a question we all grapple with at some point, right?
Right.
What's the meaning of life?
Yeah. And I think he's getting at the fact that even in the face of our own mortality, there's still meaning to be found in the everyday.
Absolutely.
It's about those small rituals, those routines that give our lives structure and purpose.
I think he's also highlighting the importance of choice.
Yes.
Even when faced with something as daunting as death, we still have choices to make.
Right.
And those choices matter.
It's like even if you know the world's going to end tomorrow, you should still plant a tree.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about finding meaning in the present moment.
Yeah. And another thing that he talks about is gratitude.
Oh, yes.
And I think this is so important.
It is.
Especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about what we lack.
Absolutely.
He really emphasizes the importance of appreciating what we have.
He does. And he doesn't shy away from acknowledging his own privilege.
Right. No.
He talks about how living in Venezuela for a period of time really opened his eyes to the inequalities in the world and how it made him more grateful for the advantages he had.
It's about recognizing that not everyone starts on the same playing field, right?
Absolutely.
And that the things that we might take for granted are actually huge privileges for other people.
I think it's also about using those privileges to make a positive impact.
Yes.
He really emphasizes that it's not enough to just be grateful.
Right.
You have to actually do something with it.
Right. It's about action.
Exactly.
It's about using your advantages to help others.
And he even goes a step further and talks about how some of his biggest perceived failures actually led him to his greatest joys.
Yeah.
Like meeting his wife and having his daughter.
Right.
It's like those setbacks, those moments where he felt like he'd failed, actually put him on the path to his true purpose.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's like that saying, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn.
Yeah.
It's a great reminder that what we see as failures can actually be stepping stones to something even better.
Yeah, and that you can't just leave it up to fate. You have to actually take action.
Absolutely. You have to seize opportunities and put in the effort.
Yeah.
Because luck is only part of the equation.
I like that. But he also talks about emotional intelligence.
Oh, yes, EQ.
Right, and how that's even more important than IQ.
He's a firm believer in that.
Yeah.
That EQ trumps IQ.
Yeah.
When it comes to navigating life's complexities.
That's a bold statement.
It is.
Why does he say that?
Well, he actually credits his high EQ for not only his success, but also his survival.
Really?
Especially during his time in Venezuela. He talks about having to develop a really strong sense of empathy, almost as a survival skill.
Wow. So he had to be able to read people and situations really well to stay safe.
Exactly. He had to be able to anticipate danger.
Wow.
And understand the motivations of the people around him.
It's like street smarts.
In a way.
Yes.
It's about being aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
And being able to adapt to different situations.
So what are some of the ways that we can cultivate this all-important EQ?
Well, he gives some really practical tips. He talks about active listening, self-control, empathy, and mindfulness.
Those all sound important.
They are.
Yeah.
And he even encourages his daughter to be selective about her tribe.
Oh, that's interesting.
The people she surrounds herself with.
So it's about choosing your friends wisely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because the people we spend time with have a huge impact on our lives.
Yeah.
And he also encourages her to have the courage to be disliked.
Oh, now that one needs a little more unpacking. What does he mean by that?
Yeah, he's basically saying that trying to please everyone is a recipe for unhappiness.
Okay.
He believes that it's important to stay true to your own values.
Right.
Even if it means not being everyone's cup of tea.
I can see how that would be freeing in a way.
It is. It's about liberating yourself from the need for constant approval.
Right.
And allowing yourself to be authentically you.
It's about being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Even if it ruffles some feathers along the way.
Exactly.
I like that. It seems like this ties into his advice on building strong friendships.
It does.
And choosing those relationships carefully.
Absolutely. He's not advocating for being mean or rude to people.
Right.
But he's saying that it's okay to be discerning about who you let into your inner circle.
Okay.
You know, some people can be energy vampires.
Yeah.
They can drain you emotionally and hold you back from reaching your full potential.
It's about recognizing those energy vampires.
Yes.
And setting boundaries.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
When it comes to relationships.
When it comes to relationships, quality over quantity.
And how do you navigate the relationships that you do have?
Well, he emphasizes empathy as the foundation for any lasting relationship.
That makes sense.
And he gives some really great advice on navigating conflict.
Oh, like what? All right.
He suggests that whenever you're facing a disagreement, you should always ask this magic question. What would it take to find a solution that works for both of us?
So instead of trying to win the argument, it's about trying to understand the other person's perspective.
Exactly.
And finding a compromise.
It's about collaboration, not competition.
That's a really good point.
And he uses this fascinating example from a university project.
Oh, really?
Where he and his teammates were really struggling to come up with a solution that everyone could agree on. And then he finally asked that magic question. What would it take?
And what happened?
Well, it turns out that each team member had a slightly different vision for the project.
Oh.
But they were all afraid to speak up.
Right.
Because they didn't want to rock the boat. But once he asked that question, it opened up a dialogue.
Okay.
And they were able to come up with a much more creative and innovative solution.
Wow, so it was a win-win.
It was a win-win for everyone.
That's great. So it sounds like a lot of his advice is about taking control of your own life.
It is.
And making choices that align with your values.
Absolutely.
Whether it's choosing your friends, navigating conflict, or even brushing your cheek in the face of death.
Exactly. It's about taking ownership and living with intention.
And another thing that he talks about is continuous improvement.
Oh, yes.
He's a big believer in that.
He is. He sees challenges as opportunities for growth.
Okay.
And he's really into this Japanese philosophy of kaizen.
I've heard of kaizen.
Have you?
I'm not sure I fully understand it, though.
Well, it's basically about making small incremental changes that add up over time.
Okay.
Instead of trying to make massive overnight transformations, you focus on making tiny, sustainable changes each day.
So it's about consistency.
Consistency is key.
Not about, like, going on a crash diet or, you know, trying to learn a new language in a week.
Exactly. It's about making those small changes that you can stick with over time.
Like taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Exactly.
Or, you know, adding an extra serving of vegetables to your plate.
Those small changes add up.
Yeah, so it's about the power of habit.
It is.
And those small choices that we make every day.
Yes. And he applies this philosophy to all areas of life.
Not just physical health.
Not just physical health.
But also personal growth.
Relationships.
Yes.
Finances.
Everything.
Everything. It's a holistic approach.
That's really empowering.
It is.
Because it suggests that anyone can make progress.
Yeah.
No matter where they're starting from.
It's about focusing on the process rather than the outcome.
I see.
Trusting that consistent effort will eventually lead to the results you seek.
I like that. And speaking of learning, he's also a big advocate for lifelong learning.
He is. He's a voracious reader and encourages his daughter to be the same.
He believes in the power of knowledge.
Absolutely.
Right.
Knowledge is power.
And he sees technology as a double-edged sword. Yeah.
It can be a tool for incredible learning and growth.
Yeah.
But it can also enslave us if we're not careful.
It's about using technology consciously and critically.
So we have to be mindful of how we're using it.
It's easy to get sucked into the echo chambers of social media.
Yeah.
And lose touch with reality.
So it's about being selective.
Absolutely.
About the information that we consume.
Curate your own digital diet.
I like that. And he encourages his daughter to form her own opinions.
Yes.
Based on evidence and reason.
Critical thinking is essential.
So it's about thinking for yourself.
Yes.
Not just blindly accepting what you see online.
Don't just be a passive consumer of information. Yeah. Be an active participant.
And speaking of being active.
Okay.
He also has some interesting things to say about ambition.
Oh, yes.
He encourages his daughter to dream big.
He does.
But also to be realistic and self-aware.
It's about finding that balance.
Right.
Between ambition and practicality.
So it's not just about aiming for the stars.
Mm-hmm. It's about making sure those stars are actually aligned with your values and your passions.
It's about pursuing goals that are meaningful to you, not just goals that look good on paper.
So how do you actually go about achieving those goals?
Well, he's a big believer in systems.
Okay.
Developing routines and habits that support your goals.
So it's about discipline.
Discipline is key.
And consistency. He uses a great analogy.
Does he?
About training like an athlete.
Okay.
You know, emphasizing the importance of consistency and not getting sidetracked by distractions.
Yeah, it's about having that laser focus.
Right.
And not letting the negativity of others derail you.
So it's about tuning out the noise.
Tuning out the noise and staying true to your vision.
I like that he even goes so far as to say you are not special.
Oh, wow.
Which sounds kind of harsh.
It does.
But I think he's just trying to be realistic.
I think so, too.
Right. Like, success isn't just handed to you.
Yeah.
You have to work for it.
You have to put in the effort.
You have to be disciplined.
And you have to be resilient.
Yeah. And speaking of practical matters, he also delves into the world of finance.
He does.
And building wealth.
This is where his background in finance really comes in handy.
Right. He knows his stuff.
He does. He breaks down complex concepts like cash flow, leveraging, and the power of compounding.
Making your money work for you.
Exactly.
Right.
He wants his daughter to be financially savvy.
Yeah.
And make informed decisions about her money.
Does he offer any specific advice on investments?
He does. He talks about the pros and cons of investing in property versus stocks.
Okay.
Suggesting that property might be a better starting point for building wealth.
Okay.
But that stocks can offer more liquidity and higher returns later in life.
Interesting. So diversification is key.
Diversification is always a good strategy.
Right. And he's also a big believer in building generational wealth.
He is. He wants to create a legacy of financial security.
Right.
Not just for his daughter, but for her children and grandchildren.
Wow, that's thinking long term.
It is. It's about creating a ripple effect of financial well-being.
And it's not just about the money itself.
No.
Right? It's about the opportunities that financial security provides.
It's about freedom and choice.
Yeah.
It's about having the resources to pursue your passions.
And to give back to others.
Exactly.
This is fascinating stuff.
It is.
And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of what this book has to offer.
We have. There's so much more to explore.
I'm excited to dive in.
Me too.
So should we take a break?
Let's take a break and come back for more Dad's Wisdom.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Dad's Wisdom. We were just talking about finance and building wealth, which is a big theme in this book, but it goes way beyond just money, right? It's about creating a fulfilling life overall.
Absolutely. And he really dives into how important it is to choose the right life partner, someone who shares your values and supports your dreams.
Yeah, he actually shares his own love story, which is pretty cool. He met his wife when they were both really young, and it wasn't exactly love at first sight. They had to overcome some cultural differences and even some family objections.
It sounds like their relationship was tested right from the start.
Yeah, but they worked through it, and they built this incredibly strong bond that's lasted for decades.
And I think that's a key takeaway here. Finding the right partner isn't just about initial attraction or compatibility on the surface. It's about aligning on those deeper values and having a shared vision for the future.
He even compares it to joining a top-tier MBA program.
Really? How so?
He says you're not just paying for the education, you're buying into a network of ambitious, like-minded individuals who will support your growth and open doors to new opportunities.
I love that analogy. It really highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with people who inspire you and challenge you to be your best self.
Exactly. And this idea of network investing applies to all your relationships, not just romantic ones. He talks about how important it is to build a strong network of friends, mentors, colleagues.
People who share your values and support your aspirations.
Exactly. He calls this building a family beyond bloodlines.
It's about recognizing that our connections are what truly enrich our lives, and that we can choose to create our own family by surrounding ourselves with people who uplift us and support our growth.
And he doesn't just talk about the benefits of having a strong network. He also gives some really practical advice on how to build those connections and nurture those relationships.
One of his key suggestions is to be genuinely interested in others, to listen actively, and to offer support without expecting anything in return.
It's about being a good friend, a supportive colleague, and a generous mentor.
And recognizing that those relationships are a two-way street.
Right. It's about reciprocity. You get what you give.
And that giving can take many forms. It could be offering a listening ear, sharing your expertise, or simply being there to celebrate someone's successes and offer comfort during challenging times.
And when those challenging times inevitably come, he offers some wise advice on navigating conflict.
One of my favorite tips from the book is to always ask, what would it take to resolve this in a way that works for both of us?
Instead of getting stuck in a win-lose mentality, it's about finding a solution that benefits everyone involved.
He emphasizes that empathy is key here. Putting yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with it.
And speaking of putting yourself in other people's shoes, he also talks about the importance of self-care, both physically and mentally.
This is where he gets really personal, sharing his own struggles with neglecting his health and how it ultimately impacted his well-being.
Yeah, he talks about how he used to burn the candle at both ends, working long hours, not prioritizing sleep or exercise, and how it eventually caught up with him.
He realized that taking care of his physical and mental health wasn't just about looking good. It was about having the energy and clarity to show up fully for his family, his work, and his life.
It's about recognizing that self-care is not selfish. It's essential for being able to give your best to the world.
And that self-care can take many forms, from getting enough sleep and exercise, to spending time in nature, pursuing creative hobbies, or simply taking a few moments each day to relax and recharge.
He even talks about the importance of creating a well-maintained and inspiring personal space.
He's a big believer in the power of a tidy and organized environment, arguing that clutter can create mental chaos, while an orderly space fosters clarity and peace of mind.
He even shares this funny anecdote about how he used to resist cleaning, seeing it as a chore, but eventually realized that taking a few minutes each day to tidy up his workspace actually boosted his productivity and creativity.
It's about creating an environment that supports your best self, a space where you can focus, relax, and recharge. And it's not just about aesthetics, it's about creating a sense of order and intentionality in your life.
He also emphasizes that self-care and creating a supportive environment aren't just about you, they're also about being able to show up more fully for the people you care about. When you're feeling depleted and burnt out, you're not able to give your best to others.
Exactly. And speaking of giving your best, he also talks a lot about legacy, but not in the traditional sense of fame or fortune.
He defines legacy as the positive difference you make in the world, the ripple effect of your actions, and the inspiration you leave behind.
It's about recognizing that our lives are interconnected and that we have the power to make a positive impact no matter how big or small.
And that impact can take many forms. It could be mentoring others, supporting a cause you believe in, volunteering your time, or simply being a kind and compassionate human being.
It's about leaving the world a little better than you found it.
And he doesn't just encourage his daughter to think about the legacy she wants to leave behind. He also provides practical guidance on how to build that legacy, starting with financial security.
He's a big believer in planning for the future, not just for yourself, but for future generations. He talks about his own journey of building wealth and how it wasn't just about accumulating money, it was about creating opportunities for his family and having the freedom to make choices that align with his values.
And he's very transparent about his financial strategies, which I found really refreshing. He even discusses the potential pitfalls of generational wealth, warning his daughter about the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves and three-generation phenomenon, where wealth is often squandered by the third generation who didn't have to work for it.
He wants his daughter to understand that wealth is a tool, and how you use it is what matters most.
He's a big believer in philanthropy and encourages his daughter to view wealth as a means to make a positive impact on the world. He even suggests that true wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you can afford to give away.
It's a powerful perspective shift.
It's about recognizing that true abundance comes from giving back, from using our resources to make the world a better place.
And he doesn't just talk about giving back financially. He also emphasizes the importance of giving back your time, your talents, and your energy.
It's about finding ways to contribute to your community, to mentor others, and to leave behind a legacy of service and kindness.
He wants his daughter to understand that true wealth is about more than just money. It's about living a life of purpose, making a difference, and leaving behind a positive impact on the world.
And all of this is underscored by a deep awareness of his own mortality.
It's this awareness that gives his words a sense of urgency and poignancy, reminding us that our time is precious and that we should make the most of every moment.
But it's not a morbid or depressing urgency. It's an inspiring call to action, a reminder to live with intention, to embrace every experience, and to make choices that reflect what truly matters to us.
He wants his daughter to live a life that's rich with meaning, purpose, and connection. A life that she can look back on with pride and gratitude.
And I think that's something we can all aspire to, no matter our age or circumstances.
We'll be back in just a moment to delve into the final chapters of Dad's Wisdom, A Blueprint for Life, and uncover even more of the wisdom and inspiration this book has to offer.
And we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into Dad's wisdom. It's been so interesting to explore this father's advice for his daughter, especially knowing he wrote all of this while battling cancer. It really makes you think about what's truly important in life.
It does. It's like a crash course in how to live a meaningful life.
And what struck me is how practical and down-to-earth his advice is. He doesn't just offer vague platitudes. He provides concrete strategies and real-life examples to illustrate his points.
Yeah, he's not afraid to get specific. He even includes a detailed reading list at the end, covering topics from philosophy and history to finance and personal growth.
Oh yeah, that reading list is amazing. It's like he curated a library of wisdom for his daughter to draw from.
It shows how much he values knowledge and lifelong learning. And he encourages his daughter to think for herself, to question everything, and to never stop exploring new ideas.
Exactly. He's not trying to indoctrinate her. He's giving her the tools to become an independent thinker and to forge her own path in the world.
And he does it with such a warm and engaging style. Even when he's talking about heavy subjects like death and legacy, there's this lightness and humor that makes it all so relatable.
It just shows how he can approach these tough topics with sensitivity and a touch of humor, making them less scary for a child to grasp.
He really has a gift for storytelling. He uses anecdotes and personal experiences to bring his advice to life, making it more memorable and impactful.
And that's what makes this book so special. It's not just a collection of advice. It's a window into the heart and mind of a father who wants the best for his daughter.
It's a love letter, a legacy of wisdom and guidance that he's leaving behind for her.
Exactly. And that legacy isn't just about material things or worldly success. It's about the values he's instilled in her, the lessons he's taught her, and the love he's shared with her.
He talks a lot about leaving a positive impact on the world, about finding your purpose and using your talents to make a difference.
And he emphasizes that you don't have to be famous or wealthy to leave a meaningful legacy. It's about the everyday acts of kindness, the connections we make, and the contributions we make to our communities.
It's about being a good human being, treating others with respect, and leaving the world a little better than you found it.
And he reminds us that even in the face of our own mortality, we can choose to live with intention, to savor each moment, and to make choices that reflect what truly matters to us.
He encourages us to embrace life fully, to cherish our relationships, and to never stop learning and growing.
This book has been such a powerful reminder of what's truly important in life.
It's a gift, not just to his daughter, but to all of us.
I couldn't agree more. Dad's Wisdom, A Blueprint for Life, is a book that will stay with me long after I've finished reading it.
I think you'll say with all of us.
Yeah.
It's a book that challenges us to think deeply about our values, our relationships, and the legacy we want to leave behind.
If you're looking for a book that will inspire you to live a more intentional and meaningful life, I highly recommend checking it out.
It's a true gem.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, we'd love to leave you with this question. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? And what steps can you take today to start building it?
It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration.
Until next time, keep seeking wisdom, keep sharing your story, and keep making the most of this precious life.